Well, I have a very strong opinion that I don't know what's going to happen. But no, there is a lot of talk. I'm all for cryptocurrencies and blockchain technology because I like competing currencies, but I don't know the technology. But it bothers me when you hear about governments, whether they're local governments or countries, and saying you're not allowed to do this and not allowed to do that, because historically governments always have to have a monopoly control over money and credit. Obviously, that's why we have a Federal Reserve instead of allowing the market to operate. So it's this desire to regulate and find out, but I think that's always because the governments are afraid they're going to lose some tax revenues if they're not careful. But I'm for the least amount of regulation. I don't know what's going to happen to cryptocurrencies. I think it's a great idea, and I only have one rule: no fraud. If you're going to compete with the government, but governments aren't very tolerant of competition, and they're not even tolerant with using the Constitution to compete with the fiat dollar, because gold and silver, you can't use it. So I'm for competition, and we'll have to wait and see what the market decides, along with overcoming government regulations, to see what will happen to crypto.
What is, you think, that minimum amount of regulation that's necessary or acceptable?
Now, I don't think you go looking. I mean, we just went through a lot of activity here over the presidential election because they said there is, and we're going to find it and we're going to prove it. No, you have to have a charge made. Somebody has to say, somebody did this. But to go look and say, well, we want to prevent it, it's sort of like prior restraint in the media. You don't go looking for somebody saying something wrong, or you have to allow something to happen to have a reason. Otherwise, you just go like crazy with regulations, which is essentially what the world has done, and our country has done it. So, no, I think that the government has a role, and somebody has a case that there is fraud. I think it should be investigated. But to go looking, and then they'll say, just think of all the regulations since the 1930s in order to prevent the ups and downs of the business cycle. And every time we have a bad one, the Congress goes in and writes even more regulations, but it never prevents the problem, because they won't deal with the problem, which is the manipulation of the interest rates by the Federal Reserve.
Before we continue, help us by smashing that YouTube like button and subscribe now to this channel. This shows the algorithm that you value the information, and it helps us spread this message. Sharing is caring. Please like and subscribe now. Thank you. And now, let's continue.
I wonder whether you think that an actual free market where cryptocurrencies could actually be established and maintained.
Well, I don't think anybody knows the answer. I have my questions about it, but what I want to do is legalize the freedom of choice, absent blatant fraud, people committing fraud. So, and I also, I have followed Hayek, who talked about currency choices, and he talked about different ways of doing this, a basket of currencies, different things. But I'm pretty old-fashioned, too, about what history shows about money, and they want a precise definition of the money. And the big question is can a cryptocurrency fulfill that requirement that you have a precise definition of the unit of account and that it's consistent? And right now, I mean, when you look at all the different cryptocurrencies available, you say, well, which one is going to survive? What happens if one goes down, the other goes up? So there's a lot of questions, but I don't know enough about the technology. All I know is I'm interested in that technology. I think blockchain technology is what we should be talking about, not crypto as money, because that's a question that's going to be solved by the marketplace, and it has to contend with government regulation. So that's no easy task.
I wonder what you think. Crypto enthusiasts liken Bitcoin and the other cryptocurrencies to gold. They call it digital gold. Do you agree?
Well, I think there's some similarities, but there's some things that aren't very similar, because the unit of account is an ounce of gold. You can put it in your hand. You can't the crypto. You can't quite do this, though. The people who like crypto will say so. But I still am locked in with thinking about the regression theorem, which says you have to go back to that unit that was once called money. Like our dollar originally started as a silver dollar, and it was connected to it. Just think of the difficulty of the SDR. They were going to create money out of thin air and get people to use it back in the 70s. Nobody paid any attention to that. And I think that's one of the problems with the euro right now. It did not start off with somebody knowing what a euro was. And it's having problems. But all currencies are fiat now. And that's why people are, some of the central banks, many are, buying gold and looking at alternatives and looking at crypto. Yep. And I think that's good, but sorting this all out is a real challenge.
What to do in such a situation? Inform yourself and keep your financial education strong. We from the Compact Group offer our loyal subscribers a free educational portal with first-hand monetary, financial, and economic knowledge. Enter our invite-only Insider Club by clicking the link below. You will get access to first-class information far earlier than the rest. We have prepared a special deal for all our members where you can access a giant pool of Robert Kiyosaki's financial wisdom for just $1. To find out more, simply click the link below and join our Insider Club absolutely free. But there is more you can and should do. Build up several streams of income. More and more people realize that they have to take their future in their own hands, but they don't know how and where to start. We from Compact offer our Insider Club members unique opportunities. Strengthen your financial muscle and get the edge. Click the link below. Become part of our free Insider Club. No financial obligations. But there's one important thing you have to know. You have to become active. So do it now. Become active and see you on the other side.